This is my brand new 2025 Lexus NX 250. Now, I am not a professional car reviewer. I'm a motorcycle guy for the most part on YouTube, but we got this new car and I thought, what the heck, I'll do a review. I did do a review 4 years ago of a brand new, at the time, 2020 Lexus NX 300, I believe it was. And I do have quite a bit of history with Lexus. Every car I've had since 1994 has been a Lexus. I've leased or purchased every one of them from the exact same dealership. In fact, from the exact same salesperson. So I have a lot of experience with Lexus brand. This is our third NX. It's kind of a compact SUV. We traded our 2020 in on it. Before that, we had a 2017 NX. I believe it was an NX 200. And prior to that, we have had several ES350s. We had an RX 330 at one point. So like I say, I'm very familiar with the brand. After 30 years, I should be. And after putting about 150 or so miles on this vehicle, I really have to ask myself, is Lexus still a premium brand? So if we're going to take a look at the styling of the car on the exterior, I think Lexus has done a pretty good job. They pretty dramatically changed the look of the vehicle in 2024, I think it was. I know it looks a lot different than the one we had in 2020. The hood is sculpted differently. It looks very nice, very sexy looking, I guess. And of course, I thought the grille on our 2020 couldn't get any bigger or more obtrusive, but apparently they found a way, because this is a massive front grille. It's very distinctive. One thing about it, it doesn't look like any other vehicle on the road. So I like the look of it, the front end. It's okay. It's got this kind of a dark gray grille material. Now I should also point out, this is the standard base model NX. It does have a premium luxury package, but it's not an F Sport, it's not an NX 350. And part of the reason I'm doing this review is because almost every review I could find on YouTube was either of the 350 or the hybrid or the F Sport. So this is the base NX 250. Okay, so we've got the huge, massive Lexus logo up front. We've got a very small chin up here. I don't know if I would go so far as to call that a bumper, but it is a chin on the bottom of the car. Looks very stylish. Everything looks nice. These vents are not functional. They're strictly for looks. And there are some fog lights down below that it came with. All LED lighting. I do like the daytime running lights on the front of the car. I think those look nice. And if we go down the side of the car, let's take a look at that. I should also point out that this vehicle is atomic silver, is the name of the color. Our previous NX was white. I like white, but Ricky wanted to change, so we got the silver car this time. And we have had the atomic silver in the past. It was on our 2017 model. But looking at the styling down the side, looks pretty similar to the 2020 that we had. They still use the black plastic trim over the fenders, over the wheels. I'm not crazy about the black plastic. It's okay. To me, it doesn't look that premium. One thing that's really not premium is inside the fender wells. They're now using that hairy fiberboard, cardboard material. It doesn't feel like, I don't even think it's plastic. On our previous NX, it had the kind of the slicker black plastic, much easier to keep clean. I'm not sure how this is going to be to keep clean. The car now does come with 18-inch alloy wheels and run-flat tires from Bridgestone. This is the first vehicle we've owned with run-flat tires. And I was a little apprehensive when they told us about that, because I was always afraid they'd be noisy, they'd ride rougher, but in 150 miles, we really haven't noticed that. The car seems to ride nicely. Rear view mirrors are basically the same as what we had on the 2020. They look identical. They still have the little marker lights, the side turn signals in the edge of the... Fortunately, Lexus still does use the chrome trim around the windows. I like that. I think it's a little classier. That does look premium. The door handles have changed. They're now electronic. It's really not a handle as much as it is just a switch. So you basically press that switch and it opens the door. That's nice. There is an alternative way to open the door. I can't remember how to show you how to do it because the salesman showed me how to do it, but I've already forgotten. Sometimes I feel like Lexus on this vehicle put a lot of sophisticated electronics and technology just for the sake of technology. I didn't have a problem with the old door handles. I was fine with opening a door handle, but maybe that's just me. Now the rear of the vehicle is where I think Lexus did a really good job on the styling. They have made a few changes. The rear window looks the same, and the windshield wiper is the same as what we had on the 2020 and the 2017. I kind of wish they would figure out a way to put this up underneath this rear spoiler so that you wouldn't see it at all. It'd make the window easier to clean, and I think it would look just a little bit classier than having this windshield wiper sticking down here on the bottom of the windshield. But I do like the way they carried this tail light all the way across. I think that looks nice. Brake lights, of course, are the same, all LED. And I like the fact that they got rid of the big L logo back here and they just put the word Lexus. I think that looks much more premium, ties it in a little bit more with the RX model. And then of course down here you've got the NX 250 badge, license plate. There is a little bit of difference in the rear bumper. It used to extend out maybe 1.5 inches or 2 past this tailgate. And of course you got the painted portion here, which is plastic, and then the black plastic down below. One thing you don't have on the 2025 is you don't have any exhaust tips anymore. This is just, these are fake. They're just there for looks. So you don't see the exhaust tips anymore on the NX model, at least not on this model. Maybe you do on the F Sport. Now to open the rear hatch, you have a couple of options. There is a switch underneath that you can press, or you can simply kick your leg. We had that on the 2020 model as well. Now I should point out this cargo area on our vehicle came with this protective rubber mat from Lexus. I think that's an option. I don't believe that's standard equipment. There's also this little kind of cover that can fit up here, and we've removed it because we don't use it. It just takes up some space. But basically that will cover when your hatch is closed. People can't see if you've got any packages or something under here. We just remove it and don't use it. One thing that I do think is standard equipment is the cargo net. I believe our last 2 Lexuses came with this. It's inside this little bag, which is nice, and it clips onto these little D-ring hooks here, and also up here there's a couple of little hooks. I just haven't unpacked it yet because I wanted to be able to easily show you this cargo area, and I'll put on the screen, I'll put the dimensions of this cargo area so you know how much storage space. I don't think it's changed since 2020, but I don't know for sure, so I will put that on the screen for you. There are a couple of little tie-down hooks here, and on the left-hand side there's a little cargo net, and it has a first aid kit. Something that Lexus has been doing for quite some time is giving you a first aid kit. So if we look underneath this rubber protective mat, and I should also point out that in our previous Lexus we had a WeatherTech rubber mat, and the advantage I think that WeatherTech has is it has a little bit taller of a lip on it, so that if you do spill something, it would hold more liquid volume than this rubber mat. But I do like the looks of this. I like the logo on there. Let's pull up underneath, and underneath you just basically have a carpeted area. Let me remove this rubber mat. We'll take a look underneath. So this would be your factory carpeted rear deck. They have made some changes. This now folds up. I don't know why they have 2 handles here. They have a handle here and a handle here. And it basically folds forward like this and reveals quite a bit of storage underneath. Now what you don't have in 2025 is you don't have a spare tire. And that's because they come with run flat tires, so they figure you don't need a spare tire. And there are a couple of nice plastic compartments up here. I've got a battery jump starter that I'm keeping here. I also keep my owner's manual, which is extremely thick. Look how big that owner's manual is. There's actually 4 different manuals. It's huge. I keep that in one of these. And then this is the license plate for the front. We don't ever put ours on. But there's plenty of storage underneath here for a variety of things. Now, I think it would have been nice if Lexus had provided the same hard plastic here that they did on this area. I wish they had created hard plastic here because you could have used it. It would have been waterproof, and it might have increased the flexibility of what you could have used this for. Welcome to the interior of this 2025 Lexus NX 250. This is where some things start to go a little sideways, and where I see some things that, in my opinion, may knock it out of the realm of a premium brand. Let me be more specific. First of all, let me say that the seats are very comfortable. These are what they call New Luxe. It's like a fake leather. And in my opinion, a premium product should have real leather. I'm sure this is some sort of virtue signaling on the part of Lexus or Toyota that they care about the environment, and that, you know, cows are destroying the environment, and or maybe it's cruelty to animals. I'm sure it's some sort of virtue signal. But there are other brands out there that aren't even premium brands that give you real leather. I like the feel, the touch, just the luxury of real leather. But that's okay. These seats are comfortable, and they do sort of feel like leather. They don't feel like the old vinyl seats. At least that's a good thing. These seats are perforated because they are heated and they are cooled. They're very nicely stitched. I like the design and the look of the seats. I think they're good. We also have the rubber floor mats in here. That also came. I think that's an option. So that, for some reason, those came in the car. They did also come with carpeted floor mats. I'm comfortable in the car. It's just feels pretty much just like the 2020. I feel, I have plenty of headroom, even with a hat on. I don't hit my head anywhere. I can adjust the seat. The seat is very adjustable. It's electronic on the driver's side and the passenger side. So it's a pretty comfortable cockpit for a driver. That part I like, and for the passenger as well. There are actually 3 buttons on the bottom of the rear view mirror. These are the HomeLink garage door opener buttons. What's very interesting is nowhere in the owner's manual or any of the 4 owner's manuals does the word HomeLink appear anywhere. Now the dash, when it starts up, you do get a nice little greeting. You also get one on the larger screen to your right. And this is an all-digital dash in the 2025, different than what we had in the 2020. You'll notice the tachometer. When you press the accelerator, you do get the digital tachometer, and in the center you get the speed in a digital readout, and then of course the gear indicator down below. Now to the left we've got the compass. They've moved the compass from the rear view mirror over here to the left hand side to this little information panel, and there's a variety of different things you can choose using this little keypad on the steering wheel. So if we press these arrows, you can see it will move and change the information. It's got the radio station here. You move it over. It's got the adaptive cruise control settings. I'm not really sure how valuable some of this information is. If you have any messages like maintenance messages or things like that. So I prefer to keep it on the compass because I do like that display. You'll notice we have 200 miles on the car down below. And if you look over to the right of the speedo tachometer, you will see the temperature, the water temperature, or the coolant temperature, as well as the fuel gauge. Now up above the speedometer on the left-hand side, we've got the ambient temperature outdoors, and we also have the time. That is the clock. Lexus has done away with the little analog clock that we used to have on the previous versions and all Lexuses, and they had plenty of space. They could have put a little analog clock right here. I'm sure they could have figured out a way to put it somewhere. This is all piano black, which I am not a big fan of because it's hard to keep clean. It gets a lot of fingerprints. It shows dust really bad. There's piano black used all through this vehicle. In fact, I just cleaned it right before we started shooting this video. The infotainment system in this NX 250 is where Lexus has really let the brand down and keeps it, in my opinion, from being considered a premium brand at this point. It has a very nice screen. The screen's very nice. But when it comes to the Bluetooth connectivity for Apple CarPlay, I have a phone here. This is Ricky's cell phone. And we have Bluetooth turned on. And we can actually see the Lexus NX in the list of Bluetooth items. And you would think when it says Experience, Drive, Connect, Get Started, that it would take you through a series of things to connect to Bluetooth. Let's just press this. What you end up with is this white screen, and it doesn't go away. So it is, in my opinion, defective. That doesn't work. There are other issues with Apple CarPlay I'll go into in a minute, but there's no excuse for that. It just doesn't do anything. And the only way to get this screen to go away, you can press it, do whatever you want, it ain't going to go away, is to turn the car off and back on. So we'll do that. Now somebody's going to have to explain to me why that is acceptable on a 2025 Lexus. Why is it so difficult to connect a phone? Now for some reason it thinks I'm in the car. I think it's because we set this up at the dealership. Let's not press this button again. We know that isn't going to work. Let's go over here to the settings, and it shows me as the primary driver. Let's go to Bluetooth and devices. And it says add another device. Well, right now it doesn't show any devices. I apologize for the flickering. That's just a characteristic of the screen refresh and my iPhone camera. We'll add another device, and it says search for Lexus NX, and I've done that on Ricky's phone, and I will press Lexus NX, and now it should search for devices, and it does find it. iPhone 2 also finds our television. I will click on iPhone 2, that I believe is Ricky's phone. Now it says please check your device. If I check the device, it says connection unsuccessful. Okay. Up here on the screen it says confirm this code, 498263. Let me try pressing this again. Nothing. It doesn't do anything. And it does say, please check on your device, 498263. We go back to the device, connection unsuccessful.
A few moments later.
Okay, believe it or not, I was able to get Ricky's phone connected. It took about 5 or 6 tries, but what I did is I forgot the device, turned off Bluetooth, turned Bluetooth back on, and went through the whole thing again. And this time it apparently did connect. So we now do have Apple CarPlay from Ricky's phone on this Lexus NX 250. Now, here's where I have an issue. Let me try to send a message. I'm going to try to send a message to a friend of mine, or actually I'm going to try to send a message to Ricky's brother. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this button right here, the little talk button, to bring up Siri. But first, before we do that, let's turn on the radio. Let's get a little radio. That's just talk radio, so I shouldn't have any copyright strikes, I hope. Send a message to Richard.
What do you want to say?
Do you see the problem? Siri cut off halfway through her message. She didn't finish. And it did not mute the radio. So when you go to send a message to someone using Siri, it doesn't mute the radio. I don't even know how to get out of this now. I'm pressing the button again.
Your message says, what do you want to say? Do you see the problem? Siri cut off halfway through her message. She didn't finish, and it did not mute the radio. So when you go to send a message to someone using Siri, it doesn't mute the radio.
Cancel.
Okay, canceled.
Okay, now let me turn up the radio.
On an island off the state's Atlantic coast, big crowds expected this morning as early voting begins across Texas. You can vote at any voting center in your county.
Send a message to Richard.
What do you want?
You see the problem? It does not mute the radio.
It says,
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored
I didn't
by
find any
O'Reilly
matching
Auto Parts.
places.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Top American diplomats are
Cancel.
in the Middle East this morning in a bid to end hostilities
Okay,
between Israel,
canceled.
Hamas, and Hezbollah. It comes after a night of air.
So you can see the problem that we have. That on a 2025 Lexus NX 250, CarPlay doesn't work. At least not for text messages. Now I did test making a phone call and it did mute the phone call. I'm sorry, it did mute the radio during the phone call, but it does not mute the radio when you go to send a message, use Siri, or retrieve your messages. So it makes it virtually unusable. But in my opinion, if I had known that this problem existed, it would have been a deal killer. I would not have purchased the vehicle. It's that important to me to be able to send and receive text messages through CarPlay. I consider it a safety issue because I don't want to have to pick up my phone and look at the phone and use the phone while I'm driving. That's why we have CarPlay. To me, it's a huge safety issue that Lexus does not have this working properly. Clicking the little music icon brings up your choices for radio and sound, and I do like the way they've done the radio selections on this NX. Once you've selected your source, you can actually sort the radio stations by category, and it's just very, very nice. This new Lexus does come with 90 days of complimentary Sirius XM radio, which I am using right now, but I won't subscribe because I don't like Sirius XM's policies. If you click on the little phone icon, it takes you to Lexus's built-in phone system. You can use your phone without Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and it will download the contacts from your phone and the phone number, so you can actually make and receive phone calls without Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Clicking the little car icon brings up your trip computer, which you can use, and then if you click on the little gear icon at the bottom, that will bring up all of the vehicle settings, Bluetooth devices, and all of your other variety of vehicle customization settings. If we look below the infotainment portion of the screen, we have some other electronic controls for the air conditioning to control your airflow here. You also have your heated and cooled seat controls. In the center, there's some additional climate controls. I'm not sure what Climate Concierge is. I haven't checked that out yet. And then you also have some other options where you can turn on or off some safety and comfort and convenience controls. Things like lane departure alert, parking support brake, blind spot monitoring, things of that nature. On the right-hand side, you've got your passenger heated and cooled seat controls. If we look at the very bottom of the screen, you have an electronic control for your fan speed. You can set it from 1 to 5. To the right of that, you can change the recycle air control. The dual zone air conditioning controls are on manual switches to the left and right of the screen, where you can do the sync, or you can have individual controls for temperature control, and of course your temperatures show up on the screen. So down here we've got some actual switches for the front defroster. Of course we have the manual on-off for the radio and the volume control. And the switches feel very nice, they're very well done. We have the automatic temperature control, which of course the temperature you select shows up down on the infotainment screen. And then on the other side you've got the sync button, so that if you have dual zone and your passenger wants their own temperature, they can adjust their temperature independently. Now down here on the top of the console, you've got the drive mode selector. If you press it, it goes to normal, eco, flip it to the left, sport mode, flip to the right. I believe on the F Sport model you have one additional setting for maybe Sport Plus. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it used to be. Now down here is where you have the charging pad for the phone, and it only works intermittently. It's not a reliable charger, at least if your phone has a case on it like ours does. We have no trouble charging wirelessly in the house with our MagSafe wireless chargers, but this vehicle, it's just not a very strong charger, I guess. I'm not sure why. Above that, there's a little, I don't know what this little cubby's for, maybe for a pack of cigarettes, pack of gum, not sure. USB-C, USB-A. This little charger will also push forward, and this is another little storage cubby, which is actually a pretty good size. It also has two more USB-C ports down there, so you could charge other devices. And of course it has a 12-volt cigarette lighter style. The feel of these doors feels very high quality. This is where Lexus does a good job, and that does feel premium. I already told you about the piano black. I'm not a big fan. You can already see I got smudges all over it. Now the shifter is a switch. It is not a traditional gear shift like we had in our previous car. Basically, you put your foot on the brake, and to me it works opposite. It's opposite of intuitive. You push left and forward to go backward. You know you're in reverse when you get the rear camera. And it's a very nice rear camera, very high resolution, nice backup camera. But to me, it just doesn't make sense to push forward to go into reverse. And you can see that it indicates you are in reverse. If you want to go forward, you push this switch over and pull it toward you, and that puts you into drive. You can also shift manually, and the vehicle does have paddle shifters if you choose to shift manually. So to put it into park, you simply press this button. You also have the ability to simply stop the car. Just turn off the engine and it will automatically go into park, so you don't have to remember to do that in case you forget. It's not like when you stop the car it's going to be in neutral and it's going to roll back on you. Two very nice cup holders. And then over here we've got the, this vehicle has the auto start stop, which I absolutely loathe, so that when you come to a stop, the engine shuts off. But you can defeat that. You can turn this off by pressing this switch. However, you have to do it every time you start the car. So every time you start the car, you have to remember to hit this switch unless you want your engine to die every time you come to a stop. This is your hold button here, which so when you come to a stop, if you let your foot off the brake, the car won't roll back on you or roll until you hit the accelerator. It will then release. Now on the auto start stop, same thing. When you come to a stop, it will turn the engine off, but as soon as you take your foot off the brake, it starts the engine and you're ready to go. But it's a little bit violent. You can feel it. It's, I don't know, it's unsettling unless you get used to it. Also, I did discover that when you come to a stop, if you don't press the brake pedal down all the way completely to the floor, that will not activate. So you might be able to get in the habit of just stopping but not pressing the brake all the way to the floor, and then the auto start stop, it won't shut your engine off. We have traction control button here, and then this is the electronic parking brake. Okay, now over here we have the glove box or the console box. Not sure what you call this. I think this is the glove box over here. And we'll open this up. It's a pretty large glove box. We've got a few things in there already. Okay, let's come back here to the console glove box. Now they've changed this a little bit in 2025. It now no longer opens straight up. It now opens from the side, and I've got some rags and things in here. It's a pretty good size. Got a box of Kleenex. You can see we've got some cables and a pen and other stuff. Now in our previous Lexus, there was a nice little tray here that you could pull out, and it had like a little space for credit cards or gift cards or whatever. They've done away with that. All you have is this little place to put coins. I've got a paper clip in there right now. What's interesting is this little console will open on either side. So you can open it this way, or your passenger has a switch on the other side, a button, and they can open it the opposite way. So that's pretty clever, I think. Over here on the driver's side door cards, this is kind of rubbery material. It's soft. It's not a hard plastic. This is a hard plastic, by the way. And I don't know how to describe this pattern. It's some sort of a modern looking geometric pattern. And this is another area I'll come back to here in a second. But down below we've got the kind of that New Lux leather stitched, very soft. Armrests are very softly padded. This is hard plastic. We have the 4 window buttons here, and the door locks, window lock, and of course our mirror adjustments up here. They've changed the way the doors open in 2025. Now this may be the case for 2023, 2024. I'm not sure what year they started this. But the door handle is now a switch. So if you press this and push out, it will open the door. It's simply a switch. Unfortunately, it falls right where my knee rests when I'm driving. So I can already see that I'm going to accidentally hit that switch while going down the road, and hopefully the door won't fly open. So you might ask yourself, what if you're in the car and the battery dies? What if, are you stuck? How do you get out? There is an alternate way to open the door without the electric switch. You'll notice that if you pull on this little lever as opposed to pushing in, there's a little graphic on top, and it will tell you if you pull on it twice, it will let you open the door. So if we pull and then pull a second time, it unlatches the door. Now I'm not sure why. If they're going to build a mechanical lever and a release anyway, why even have the switch? To me, this is another case of technology just for the sake of technology. Let me open the door and we'll look down here, because you do have a little storage pocket down here in the driver's and the passenger door. Not huge, not as big as we had in 2020. There's a little scooped out area in there. It looks like maybe you could put a water bottle down in there. Also, one thing they've done away with in 2025 on this Lexus, we no longer have illuminated door sills. Our previous Lexus had illuminated door sills, and I think that was much more of a premium feature. This, to me, does not look premium. However, what we did gain with this new Lexus is we now have memory seats again, which we did not have in 2020. So we now have up to 3 different drivers, pre-selected memory seats, and they work very well. Now let's come back and talk about this graphic up here, because I have a problem with this. First of all, I'm not crazy about anything shiny, plasticky. To me, it looks cheap. But if you look down here at this bottom edge, it doesn't look, I don't know, it doesn't look like it was applied properly. There's like a gap in the graphic. I don't know what that is. And it's the same on the passenger side. I have that same thing in different places. It just doesn't look quality. It looks like it was some sort of a vinyl sticker that they didn't get on perfectly or something. That really irritates me, and to me that is not premium. That looks cheap. Cheaply done. Now what is nice is at night this is illuminated under here. There is like a ambient light underneath here, which is kind of cool. But not a big fan of this little design element here. I think they could have done a better job with that. If we look up above, just behind the rear view mirror, you'll find there are some touch sensitive there's a map light and kind of a dome light. There's two separate lights on each side. You've got your controls for the sunroof or moonroof. And then you also have this SOS switch behind here. This is for the Lexus Inform, kind of an emergency system. If you have an accident or some other issue, you can press that button and supposedly they will find you based on your vehicle's GPS. These lights are touch sensitive, as I said. There is a little sunglass holder. I guess that's what that is. It's too small to hold sunglasses though. You might be able to put a pair of clip-on sunglasses in there and that'd be about it. Shades come down, and just like before, they had this little mirror in each side, and when you open the mirror, the light comes on. That's pretty clever. They've had that on Lexus for quite some time. And I'm not sure what this slot is. Maybe that's a place to store a credit card or your driver's license. I don't know what that is. Somebody tell me down in the comments down below, because there's one on each side. You have that little slot, and the passenger side also has that little mirror with the light above it. On the left-hand side of the steering wheel, of course, you've got your stock for all your headlight controls and driving light controls, fog lights, etc., and of course your turn signals. And on the right side of the steering wheel, you've got all your controls for your windshield wiper, both front and rear. Steering wheel has all of your buttons, this four-way little navigation panel that controls the screen. You've got your volume up and down. We have a return button. This is to control phone calls using the Lexus built-in phone system. And of course down here you've got the button to invoke Siri. On the other side you've got your cruise control, resume, increase, decrease your cruise speed, and then your lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control settings. So you've got a lot of other controls here on the steering wheel. Okay, so let's check out the back seat of this NX 250. Now I have the driver's seat all the way back and a little bit reclined because that's the way I drive, and I had it set up for me. And at 6'2", I can still fit with my legs. I'm a little cramped, but it's not terrible. I could withstand this. It would obviously be nicer if the driver would move the seat up a little bit. As far as the seats themselves, these seats in the back are not perforated. They're also not heated and cooled, which makes sense. But they are nicely stitched. They look nice. They're comfortable. On the door cards, they have that same kind of strange looking plastic graphic design, very shiny plastic. There are some speakers in the doors. They use the same electric switch door handles. We have the electric window and of course the electric door locks. The pockets in the doors appear to be about the same size as they are in the front. We do have air vents in between the two passengers, which is nice. You can turn both of them off. And down below we have a USB, let me look here. These are both USB-C. So they now do give you USB ports for the passengers. They didn't have that in 2020. And then there's also a 12-volt cigarette lighter style. There are some nice new Lux, I guess it's the material, pockets in the back of the seats that, more than big enough to hold an iPad or laptop. The passengers do get an armrest in between them, and it's good size. It's nicely padded, it's comfortable, and it has 2 cup holders, which is nice. All good there, and it also has a little third headrest. I guess this is if you have a child. They're thinking you could actually fit 3 people back here, but possibly a young person and 2 adults. I don't think would have any trouble fitting back here if you needed to. All in all, the back seat is actually is pretty comfortable. I like the way they've moved everything up in the roof line to give a little more space. Apparently the moonroof only goes to about here, and then they sculpted this so that you have more headroom. So it's you know, comfortable, especially if the driver would move the seat up a little bit. I think it'd be fine. Let's say you need more storage in the cargo area and you want to fold these seats forward for more storage. There's a little lever up here on the top of the seat, and you simply pull that and pull this forward. But you see the problem. This headrest hits the back of this seat, and it would be the same on the passenger side. So the only way around that is to either move this seat up temporarily, and this allows that headrest to, you know, for the whole thing to fold down more or less flat. It's not completely flat, but it's pretty flat. Now, when you pull this driver's seat back, it will go back all the way without hitting the headrest. It is possible you could recline this seat so too much and possibly hit that headrest, but you now would not be able to raise the seat to put it back into place. And this is an issue on both sides. In my opinion, what Lexus should have done is they should have made these headrests where when you fold it forward, they're on a hinge and they flip forward somehow. So what we have always done is we simply remove these headrests. We do not carry passengers in the back of our vehicle, and these headrests also kind of block your view through the rear view window or the rear window. So we just basically take these out, and you can adjust these headrests, and if you push the button in, they just pop right out. I'll lower both these seats so you can see how much space there is with them lowered. Okay, let's take a look under the hood of this 2025 NX 250. Well, the first thing we notice is that they do have hood struts, which is always a sign of a premium vehicle. I'll give Lexus a lot of credit for that. This base model Lexus NX 250 comes with a 4-cylinder, 16-valve, 2.5-liter engine that produces 203 horsepower at 6,600 RPM and 184 pound-feet of torque at 5,000 RPM. The engine bay looks very clean. There's a lot of room back behind the engine to work, so it probably should be pretty easy to maintain. We've got the little engine cover here, which pops off. You can see here we've got the plastic cover there. So everything looks pretty easily accessible. Your engine oil dipstick here. Everything user maintainable, relays and fuses. You've got your coolant reservoir over here and your air box down here on this side. See if I can figure out how to get this back on. Of course, on the left side of the engine bay, you've got your battery. We have the air box down here. Looks like that's pretty easily accessible to change out your air filter. Should be a fairly easy vehicle to do self-maintenance on should you want to. I notice the engine oil is 0W16. Now that is some pretty thin oil. Don't think I've ever had a car that took 0.16. This is the windshield washer fluid reservoir. Okay, so what's my final verdict on this 2025 Lexus NX 250? Okay, I like the looks of the vehicle. It's comfortable. It rides nice. I like that. Honestly, my final verdict is going to come down to whether or not Lexus can resolve this issue with Apple CarPlay. Texting as I'm driving and receiving texts is important to me. I know it shouldn't be. You should say, well, you shouldn't even be using the phone when you're in a car. But it's something that I've just gotten used to now, and that's important to me. So if they can't fix that or they don't fix it, I am not going to be excited or happy with this purchase or this lease in our case. Other than that, everything else on the car I think is good. I like it. If Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or sending text when you're driving is not important to you, then those are moot points that I was raising. So anyway, I appreciate you watching this review. I know it was a little bit long. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Please give it a thumbs up. That really does help my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed already, please click that little subscribe button down below. Don't forget the notification bell so you'll see any future videos I come out with. They probably won't be car reviews, but if you're interested in motorcycle reviews and other motorcycle content, maybe you should join us. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on Cruiseman's Garage.